So when I left and I went back to the jail and got all my things and some friends picked me up, I knew that it was a setup. I mean, we were continuously looking over our backs because I had so many death threats, both before and during my incarceration, death threats. My attorney had to push me literally out of the way of a moving SUV when I came out of a courthouse prior to being charged criminally. There were plenty of death threats. So I went somewhat into hiding with one of my advocates who brought me to the probation office the next day. So I get out June 30th, and on July 1st, we go back to Harford County to the pretrial and probation office. And when we were there, they present me with this packet of paperwork that I needed to sign off all my constitutional rights. I could no longer bear arms. I could no longer have HIPAA law, and I said, wait a minute here. I'm an innocent woman. I've been through hell and back, and I'm not convicted. Why am I giving away all my constitutional freedoms? And they said, because that's the process. Because, in essence, you are a convict because you pled nolo and you served time, and the pretrial service has the same requirements than the probation does. I said, well, this isn't going to fly for me. We need to figure out, what's going on here, because I shouldn't have to sign away all, I know that in the United States, I had no counsel because I don't want to go into why I didn't have counsel because it would take too long, but I had counsel in the wings. In other words, the attorney that represented me at the Noel Pross hearing was still drizzling in the background. He wasn't completely removed, but yet he wasn't really representing me because it was over. Okay? And so the people in the office started getting hostile. Dr. Rosen actually was the one who brought me to the office, and she said, Valerie, I don't like this. This is getting hostile. I need to call Isaac, who was my attorney, like I said in the background. So she left the office when she saw that they were starting to yell at me. And I tried to talk to the supervisor, and the supervisor then got on the phone with the courthouse. And I think it was odd that the supervisor of this office specifically called the very judge who has been biased and presiding on every single, from the protective order hearings to the custody hearings to the criminal whatever. This one particular Judge William Carr is now on the phone with the probation office supervisor, and I overhear the conversation because they're just right behind the wall. I can even hear Judge Carr on the phone. And what is stated is that he says, great, then we can charge her for breaking probation, call the sheriff's office, and have them send a few cars over. Detain her while they're coming. And I had not even been 12 hours out of prison with death threats. And death threats when I was in prison, you understand. And now they're sending squad cars to bring me back in. Okay?
Continue.
So I got scared and I left the office while they still had my paperwork, and as I'm walking down the stairs of the district courthouse, two officers bump into me, and they're very aggressive, and they say, are you the girl? Are you the one who we were told is wearing pink? I had a pink outfit on from head to toe. And they're like, are you the one? And I said, what? And I just, played the Oscar award winner performance. And the one elbows the other one and says, it's not her, we gotta go, shh, be quiet, we're, this, not supposed to tell anybody. And I picked up the pace, headed out of the courthouse, and I saw Rosen on the phone. I say, Rosen, get in the car, we're out of here. We get in the car, we drive through county line, I meet with a rabbi in another state, basically state line, and that rabbi says, you're going underground, and we're getting you an attorney. And that's what happened. And the attorney that what he got, was a little guy. When I say little guy, he was young. He does traffic court, But he does practice criminal law, and what we needed of him is we needed him to see what just happened in the court trickle, and because we were also told that a warrant for my arrest was issued when I ran. But understand, I ran because of what I was hearing, not because anybody, I never thought I was going to be served or anything. You understand?
Yes.
The hostilities. And so when this attorney looked in the court trickle, he said it was bizarre. There were holes. There was a lot of holes where in the court trickle you might see, hearing at this date, and this was stated, and this was stated, and this was entered, and this was entered, and then it would say like number 1 entered, number 2 entered. Then it would say number 5 entered. Well, what happened with 4? Number 8 entered. Number 10 entered. There was gaps. A lot of things suspicious. Finally, he said that there was a warrant issued for breaking probation, and then in the trickle, the warrant goes away, the case goes inactive, the case meaning the assault case, goes inactive, and next thing you know, there's a new warrant for something violent, that I did something violent at the office that they were charging me with. It changed. And other things started to happen, like the supervisor of a Montgomery County probation office now, different county, shows up at this Leora Rosen's door at odd hours. Police started knocking at the door that they were looking for me, that there were warrants ready to be issued. And again, I had not done anything. My attorney supposedly had called the state prosecutor, Joe Cassilly, and Joe Cassilly stated that it was just a matter of confusion, that there was no warrant, that the warrant would simply go away, that all I needed to do was go to Harford County and state to this particular judge that it was just a mix-up, which I wasn't going to do. In addition to the fact that I wasn't going to do that because of all the threats. While I was with Leora Rosen, we received 2 phone calls from prisoners in the facility warning us that indeed the command staff and medical staff, that they had a psychologist, Dr. Stalling, and a couple supervisor lieutenants of the facility were discussing how when I was brought back in, I would instantly be deemed some type of psychiatric hostile needing of Haldol bogus, and that this would start the process of doping me to begin my demise. That because by doing that, I would not be able, to fight or cause any problems on my accidental death. That inmates were calling and really put their own lives in jeopardy, and were later, obviously knew that later they were also disciplined because they had to call on recorded lines. And these inmates would also testify that they were disciplined and threatened because of making these warning calls. So I went out on the run, and I was in hiding, and some rabbis in the Jewish world hid me, and I was in and around Washington until my cover was given up. And when my cover was given up, there were fugitive task forces that went out through the state of Maryland, accosted friends and family without warrants, broke into houses. They actually even took out a air conditioning unit out of my mother's bedroom and climbed through the bedroom window when her roommate would not let them in the front door without a warrant. SWAT teams with guns stopped a moving van that had some of my belongings. which is now being held hostage in Washington. My belongings are being held hostage because the moving company now knows the desperation and is charging me astronomical amounts of money if I ever want to see my belongings again. But the rabbis then said, you need to get out of the state and you need to keep researching, because obviously all of those binders and all of the research that you did before.
When was this?
When did I do the research, or when did the fugitive task force start?
When was the fugitive task force engaged? Around
That was engaged at the end of August into September.
09?
10 now.
Okay.
I was let out in June of 2010.
Mm-hmm.
July 1st of 2010, the first bogus warrant was issued. Later in July, it shifted. It continuously changed. August 13th or 12th was the trial date. I had gone to attorneys to try and ask them what to do. The attorney said clearly, and I went to several top attorneys, the attorney said clearly your life is in jeopardy. If we ask for a postponement, which we're going to need to do to prepare for this trial, because normally a second-degree assault trial is stupid, a piece of cake, most people walk, but in your case with the 28 felonies and everything that we see, we would need to prepare for this like it's a murder trial.